Good morning, Mexico, and welcome to another episode of Spill the Tea, the program where you get first-hand gossip and news regarding our country. My name is Montserrat, and today we're gonna talk about nearshoring in Mexico. So stay tuned if you wanna know more about it. Alright, maybe when I mentioned the word nearshoring before, you were like, what is that? What is she talking about? Yeah, I had the same reaction when I first heard of it. So I will explain the concept before our friends Ariel and Astrid tell us in which ways this phenomenon affects our country. Okay, nearshoring is an economic strategy in which a company moves all or part of its production closer to the final consumer, reducing costs and avoiding logistical setbacks. Now let's go with Abril, who will explain to us the impacts that nearshoring has in Mexico.
Good morning, Monse. Well, first of all, a lot of people think that nearshoring only has an impact in the economy of our country, but they are wrong. It affects the political and the social sector of Mexico as well. An example of how it affects the economy is the acceleration of manufacturing production in Mexico. Did you know that in 2022 the production grew 5.2% annually, higher than the previous 10 years average? Also, the foreign direct investment could add another 5 percentage point to Mexico's GDP.
Abril, correct me if I'm wrong, but this could also mean an increase in jobs for the population, right? I mean, all these new companies arriving in Mexico will need people to work for them.
Yes, you are totally right, Monse. An additional 1.1 million jobs could be created thanks to this. According to the Global Companies Council, nearshoring could boost Mexico's labor productivity from 15% to 30% by the year 2030.
Wow, that's a lot. Thanks for that information, Abril, and please don't hang up. And now let's go with Astrid to learn more about how it affects the political and social sectors.
Monse, where should I start? In the political and social sectors, it becomes a little bit more serious. The limitation of public funds, protectionism, and migration might affect investors' perception and diminish the benefits of nearshoring. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the environmental and social problems in Mexico. These problems aren't new to us, and they can be worse thanks to the new companies that move to Mexico and pollute our country without any limitations. In Nuevo León, there have been protests demanding solutions to water scarcity, inadequate roads and transportation, insecurity, poorer quality due to the industrial pollution, and its health impacts. People might be happy because they have a new job, but what about their health and safety?
But isn't nearshoring helping small cities to become more industrialized?
Oh yes, of course. Cities where companies are located are definitely growing, but they are also experiencing a rise in the cost of living. Just an example, housing cost in Monterrey rose by a 9%.
Oh my goodness, that's very much. Thank you so much for your time, Astrid. We're going to commercials, but we'll go back to you in a little bit. When we'll come back, Patricia is gonna talk to us about the arrival of this economic strategy to Mexico. Now that you understand more about nearshoring, I have a question for you, Patricia. How and when did nearshoring arrive in Mexico?
Sure, it's easy. Let's start with the entry into the NAFTA in 1994. The agreement facilitated the economic integration between Mexico, the US, and Canada. As a result, Mexico became an even more attractive destination for American and Canadian companies seeking to reduce production costs and take advantage of the skilled workforce.
And I would like to add that this phenomenon is still growing now in our country. The industries such as technological and automobilistic were the first one to recognize the potential that Mexico has in this area. They established centers in cities such as Guadalajara, Mexico City, and Monterrey, taking advantage of the highly skilled workforce and the lower costs compared to those in the United States or Canada.
Thank you, Patricia and Daniel.
Sure, anytime. I almost forgot. If you want to know more about nearshoring, don't hesitate to read what Roberto Duran Fernandez, Celso Garrido, and Enrique Dussel Peters have to say about it.
But can you tell us more about these authors? Don't make us wait, please. We are eager to know.
Of course, Roberto Duran Fernandez is a Mexican economist and academic, recognized for his work on topics related to the economic development, regional integration, and international trade, especially in the context of Latin America. The main concept of nearshoring by Roberto Duran is actually based on the geographical proximity between companies and the service suppliers, facilitating effective communication, closer collaboration, and cost reduction compared to traditional offshoring.
On the other hand, Celso Garrido holds a master's degree in economics from Center Research and Teaching in Economics, and is candidate for a doctorate from UNAM postgraduate program. The author points out that Mexico is seeking to strengthen its position as part of a regional bloc through an alliance with the United States. However, it faces a lot of challenges, such as the lack of integration between export manufacturing and local industries.
Finally, Enrique Dussel Peters is a renowned Mexican researcher, economist, and academic, specialized in international trade, economic development, and trade relations between Mexico and other countries, especially the United States. He offers a comprehensive perspective on nearshoring in Mexico, highlighting the impact on the economy, the industry, and trade relations with the US. His analysis typically addresses topics such as competitiveness, job creation, foreign direct investment flows, and supply chain dynamics in the context of nearshoring.
Now, in another one of our studios, we have Abril and Astrid. Can you hear me again, guys?
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you, Montserrat.
thank you, Montserrat.
Perfect. I think we can all see that nearshoring has pros and cons, right, guys?
Exactly. For example, it's true that nearshoring in Mexico represents an economic opportunity for the country.
But its positive results are conditioned by the performance of the United States economy.
But well, the employment will increase here in Mexico.
Yeah, but the real estate will increase as well. And also, it is going to be expensive for the companies to start their business here, because they need to acquire lands, construct facilities, and hire new personnel just to establish in here.
You have a point, but nearshoring is likely to increase foreign direct investment, especially from Chinese and American automotive and auto parts companies.
Yeah, but that means that a lot of people have to leave their home just for the construction of an infrastructure. And that could cause an increase in the cost of living in some areas.
I don't have the same criterion.
No, you need to have better judgment if you really want to see results.
Okay. I think we have some problems at the other studio. We are going to come back to the main studio. Staff, please. Okay. Now that you've heard about the facts, you can decide if nearshoring brings more benefits or problems to Mexico. Before today's program comes to an end, let's focus on another subtopic of nearshoring. We will return to our experts, Patricia and Daniel. I would like to ask them about the future of this economic strategy. What do you think will happen with nearshoring in the upcoming years?
Well, there has been a lot of discussions amongst economists about how some situations could transform Mexico. If we want to be optimistic, we can say that a nearshoring phenomenon will continue to grow in the coming years, and Mexico will differentiate itself by its ability to produce high added value services.
I heard from a business professor at UNAM that nearshoring most likely will continue to grow, but at a more moderate pace. What do you think about that? Is it true?
Exactly, I do think the same. If the competition happens, the growth will be higher, but at a steady pace.
That sounds like the most probable scenario in my opinion. Thanks for sharing your point of view and knowledge with our audience, Daniel. Now, Patricia, something still remains in the dark. What about a pessimistic scenario? Will competition from other countries lead to missed opportunities for Mexico?
Yes, I believe so. While Mexico has actually made progress in improving its infrastructure, there are still deficiencies in certain areas, such as transportation, telecommunications, and energy. In a pessimistic scenario, bad infrastructure could affect the efficiency in transport of goods and services, and increase operational and production costs.
That truly sounds awful.
It does. Nobody wants that for our country, but hopefully our government can make the right decisions in order to avoid this dreadful chain of events.
Okay, we all need to be hopeful and work together to make the best out of what we've got. Alright, audience, it's time for the last conversation on today's episode of Visibility.
Aww.
We will continue with Patricia, but now with some interesting facts about what to consider when investing in Mexico. Would you please tell us more about it?
Of course I can. It's my favorite topic after all. If you are someone out of the country who's considering to invest in Mexico, there are several measures and actions a company can take. One of these measures is the creation of new industrial spaces focused on manufacturing. Did you guys know that the biggest opportunity to invest in Mexico is actually in the automotive sector, and also in those that are focused on the medical and electrical devices?
I really had no idea. We should pay more attention to these types of industries if we want to keep growing.
I agree with you. Furthermore, from the investor point of view, you should research fiscal and regulatory incentives that are available to foreign investors in Mexico, such as tax benefits, government subsidies, special economic zones, and free trade agreements.
Those sound like a great list of incentives. Hopefully, investors can take advantage of most of them.
Another thing to highlight is that it's wise to invest in Mexico because our country is very open to foreign direct investment. Mexico is well integrated into the world economic order, and it's part of the NAFTA, the OECD, the G20, and the Pacific Alliance.
It looks like these alliances makes it a favorable environment for the establishment of nearshoring operations.
They certainly do, Monse. Lastly, make sure to analyze the availability, quality, and cost of labor in Mexico. The cost of labor is not very high, and it's relatively well qualified.
There you go, 4 different tips and tricks if you are looking to invest in this beautiful place of the world. Thanks for telling us all this stuff, Patricia. I'm sure our audience took notes about every single thing. We appreciate it a lot. See you on our next episode. As you all know, today is Literature Wednesday, which means we are going to recommend you an author you can read at home to learn more about today's topic. So before we leave, do you guys have any recommendation for the people who are watching us?
Of course, if you want to learn more about Nearshoring, you should read the work of Roberto Duran Fernandez and Celso Garrido.
And Enrique Dussel Peters.
Well, you hear it here, friends. That's the Spill the Tea news for today. We thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk about the second presidential debate the next episode, so don't miss it. I'm Montserrat Vigil, and have a great day.